Hello, everybody, and welcome back to This Day in History. It is June 9th, 2024. It's a special day. It's my nephew Ricky's birthday. He turned 25 today. And he shares his birthday with some pretty interesting people, so I thought we'd just jump right into it. First of all, on this day in 1672, Peter I, otherwise known as Peter the Great, he was the Emperor of Russia. His birthday was today. In 1871, George Stephenson, who was an English engineer and principal inventor of the railroad locomotive. In other words, he invented the train, the locomotive train. 1891, Cole Porter was an American composer and lyricist. He was born on this day. He had a lot of South American influence on his compositions. So, yeah. Also on this day, if you're any kind of a guitar nut like I am, I mean, I love music. I love rock and roll. I love like the guitars. Then you know the name Les Paul. He was an inventor and a musician, and there's a line of guitars that is named after him, the Les Paul guitar. His birthday was today on this day in 1915. Fast forward to the 60s. In 1960, Marty McFly himself, Michael J. Fox, a Canadian actor, he was in the TV series Family Ties. He did the Back to the Future movies. He did, what was that TV series where he played a mayor's, I can't remember. He basically played a bureaucrat for the city of New York, where he worked for the mayor of New York, but I can't remember the name of that series. He did a lot of stuff. Teen Wolf was another movie that he did. And he was born on this day in 1961. 2 years later, in 1963, Johnny Depp would be born. American actor. He is known for his work on the TV series 21 Jump Street, which was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I watched that when I was a kid. He's done a lot of movies. Mostly famous for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but he's done a lot of other stuff too. He's a pretty talented actor. So my nephew shares his birthday. In 1981, on this day, Natalie Portman, and I think that's the coolest birthday. I mean, these are all pretty good, but I think the coolest birthday that my nephew has to share is with Natalie Portman. She got her start in a movie called The Professional. Internationally, it was called something else, but basically she teams up with a hitman to go after these criminal organization gangsters that kills her family. That was her first movie. She's Israeli. She's an Israeli American. She was actually born in Jerusalem, but she was raised here in the United States. When she graduated high school, she's also known for Star Wars. She's Queen Amidala in Star Wars. She did Black Swan. She did another. It was basically a coming home movie. She was with Tobey Maguire, I think it was. And basically, it was a story about a Marine coming home and having to deal with the aftermath of the war and the things that he had to do in the war. It was actually a really good movie, but I can't remember the name of that one either. But yeah, Natalie Portman, her she has done quite a bit of stuff. When she graduated she graduated high school after she had finished either she had finished filming The Phantom Menace, or she had finished her promotion of the movie. Going around and doing the junkets, whatever. Plugging the movie and for the release. She graduated high school sometime after that. She actually graduated under her real last name, because Portman is, well, it's a stage name, but she took on one of her grandparents' maiden name, I think it was, so that if she ever did anything that brought dishonor to her parents, that it wasn't directly linked to her. That was the story that I heard. But when she graduated under her legal name, and I don't know what it was, or I don't know what it is. I know that I remember it was leaked on the internet one time, and the people that leaked it caught a lot of backlash for that, because it was like she deserved to have a little bit of privacy. So they it didn't quite go over as well as they thought it would. By, oh, hey, I'm the savior of the day, I get to leak her real name, blah blah blah, and it ended up backfiring. She had a lot of fan support in suggesting that she was just trying to do a normal everyday thing, and that's normal everyday people graduate high school. She just wanted to graduate high school. So little fun fact on that. So let's go back to this day in history. In 1358, the Jacquerie took place, and basically what happened was French peasants led a revolt against the abuses of the nobility in that region, and it was a failed revolt because they got soundly defeated. They were defeated at Meaux. I think I pronounced that right. Meaux. It's French, so I mean it. Meaux. I don't know how to pronounce it because, well, I don't speak French. But it was a peasant uprising that actually got squashed on this day in 1358. In 1815, we finally get to see. We talked about this a little bit, a few days ago. We finally see the very end of all the various treaties that were being signed to conclude the Napoleonic Wars. I guess from what it sounds like, what I was reading, my interpretation of what I read was that each country that was involved signed separately on their treaties instead of like them all signing together at one time. Not like when World War II concluded on the Pacific theater of World War II. When it concluded, it was an all-day thing on the deck of the USS Missouri, and it had Hirohito from Japan. It had representatives from Australia. It had representatives of New Zealand. It had representatives of the United States. It had representatives of China. It had representatives of other countries that were involved in the conflict, and they all signed the armistice treaty, the ceasefire treaty, at the same day. But that didn't happen here in 1815. It was a series of treaties that were signed, and in the parties that were involved were obviously Austria, France, Great Britain, Prussia, Russia, and Sweden. So they all got together and they hashed out their treaties in 1815, and it was the final act of the Congress of Vienna. So Vienna hosted, which is in Austria, and they concluded the business of the Napoleonic Wars. In 1870 Charles Dickens. Um, he's noted for his literary works. He was like an amazing Victorian era author. He would die on this day in 1870 near Chatham, Kent, an area called Gad's Hill. He died on this day in 1870. We have some interesting events that happened during World War II. So on this day in 1940, Erwin Rommel crosses the Seine River. He's pushing toward the Atlantic. They hadn't quite captured all of France yet, but he's on the move. He's a major tank. He's a major tank commander, and he's like one of the best. I mean, he was like he defeated when he was in North Africa. He defeated the British, or sent them. He sent them packing. Patton wanted to meet him on the battlefield, but that never happened. And when Rommel died, it said that Patton mourned his death because he mourned the opportunity or the lost opportunity of facing him in battle, because both these guys were really good battle strategists. They were really good tank commanders, and it would have been an interesting fight for sure. But I always had a lot of respect for Rommel because of how he conducted himself on the battlefield. He was a very honorable man. He was not a card-carrying member of the Nazi Party. He was a loyal son of Germany, and that's pretty much the only reason why he was fighting for the Nazis. He wasn't a Nazi himself. But he was an officer of the German army, and he was a loyal son of Germany. So where Germany went, that's where, war-wise, that's what he did. He did not believe in the practice of genocide. He did not believe in the accepted behaviors and abuses that the German hierarchy encouraged. He discouraged that himself. It should be noted that there's not one German soldier that ever served under Erwin Rommel that was ever brought up on war crimes, because he didn't believe in him, and he left very strict orders that any soldier who served under him would not engage in such practices. And as a result, they were never charged with war crimes because they never committed them. So he was a very honorable man. But 2 years later, it's in retaliation to the assassination of Heinrich Heydrich, and he was a not so nice guy. He was he was a deputy commander of the SS. And it's actually said that he's the one who came up with the final solution. Like, it was the notion of capturing all the Jews, quarantining them, taking them to concentration camps, and summarily, committing mass genocide. That was his master plan. That he was the one. It was called the question of the final solution, what to do with the Jews and all that. And so they had a think tank about it, and this was his plan, was the mass execution of the Jews, and it was something that Hitler signed off on, obviously, because it happened. It is present day Czech Republic, but on this day in 1942, residents of Lidice, Lidice, just about everybody in that village, they were all rounded up and summarily executed in retaliation for the the assassination of Heinrich Heydrich. And what do we say to that? Well, good riddance to bad rubbish, and he was one of the worst ones. So, I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for his assassination, really. So he was a bad guy that needed to be taken out. And see, I thought it was the Allies that took him out, and that he had died from complications of a strafing run that a Allied pilot, but I could be mistaken there, because they're saying that he was assassinated and that these Czech citizens were they were made to suffer for it. In 1973, we're getting into horse racing. If you're into horse racing, if you've ever heard the name Secretariat, there was a movie based on him. Secretariat was a Triple Crown winner. It is on this day in 1973 that Secretariat won the Belmont Stakes. In Secretariat had already won the Kentucky Derby, had already won the Preakness Stakes, and because that race had won all three of these races, that made Secretariat a Triple Crown winner on this day in 1973. Other sports related, 2008, Ken Griffey Jr. would hit his 600th career home run, and he was one of 6 MLB players in history to have garnered such a feat. So that happened on this day in 2008. That was my nephew's 7th birthday. The featured event is, we go back to 1983. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, despite the debacle with the Falkland War, or the Falkland Islands incident, it was basically a war between Britain and Argentina, and while the Brits had superior air power, the Argentines handed their asses to them. And it was declared a victory. The Argentine military declared a victory in that little skirmish. But despite all that, she overwhelmingly had won re-election for her second term as a British Prime Minister. So that happened on this day in 1983. So with that is this day in history for June 9th, 2024. And we will do it all over again tomorrow for June 10th. So have a blessed day, take care, and I'm going to go eat some dinner now. You take care, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. All right, bye.